Hey everybody, welcome to step number 4. Today we're going to be talking about systems and software. First and foremost is QuickBooks. Very, very important thing for people to realize that if you want to be in business for a very, very long time, you need to have good financials, good accounting, a good grasp on where you are at financially. So what I highly recommend is that you get access to QuickBooks. This is going to be a very simplistic thing. It's not that expensive. You can even connect it with your accountant locally to wherever they are. And what I would recommend is that you get access to QuickBooks. You connect it to your business account, okay, because you should have an LLC set up where all of your money flows in for your commission checks. So what's going to happen is that you're going to open up QuickBooks, they're going to connect it to your checking account, your LLC, and you're going to have this set up where each and every single week, you're just going to make sure that you're categorizing where every single expense is going. So if you hypothetically spend money on a lunch or spend money on a coffee or you spend money on some software, you spend some money on whatever, on lighting, a green screen, camera, whatever, right? Like all this kind of stuff that's helping you grow your business, then guess what? You should probably be categorizing that as a business expense under marketing or under whatever, okay? I recommend you speak to your accountant on a regular basis, like, at least once a quarter, maybe even once a month. A 15-minute conversation will save you a lot of BS during tax time. Very first software, every single person in this business, if you want to grow a very, very successful business, you should be getting QuickBooks and you should be looking at it regularly because it's really cool when you can look at QuickBooks and you can go like, oh, I made 30 grand this month. My expenses were 7,200, so I made 23,500 bucks or whatever it is. Like the point is, like, you can actually in real time know, like, oh, okay, I'm very profitable right now. I'm very not profitable right now. I didn't make as much money as I wanted to make this month, and I only made 8,500, and my expenses this month were 8,000. I made 500 bucks this month, right? Like I'm gonna be a little tight. Like you want to know in real time. You don't want to just keep having to look at your checking account. That's software number 1. Very, very important. If you want to take your business to next level, you got to treat it like a business. I highly recommend getting QuickBooks. Next is Reonomy. I'm a huge fan of Reonomy. I do have an affiliate with them. I don't make any money. I literally, because they said, like, look, the best we can do is give you 15% off. If you want to give people 5% or 10% off, you can keep the rest. And I said, I don't need any of that money. I just want to continue to sell real estate, but I want to help a lot of people, so we give people 15% off. I'm actually trying to work on getting more, but right now it's 15% off for my students and people just like yourself. So if you'd like to have 15% off Reonomy, all you have to do is email us at theinfo@henryeisenstein.com. Email, and we'll get you access to Reonomy. However, I highly recommend you get Reonomy. I also use CoStar, by the way. I don't think you need CoStar. It's not a need, right? If you have somebody who you know also has access to CoStar, you just sign in on your phone using, especially on your Apple phone, you can use your Face ID, and you actually do not need a code every single time through your phone. So very, very lucrative. Just sign in under somebody one time on your phone, and you'll be fine for the rest of the time. You can just export reports and everything like that on your phone. You don't really need it on a desktop, because on desktop they always ask for a code. It's very, very, very annoying. However, like, look, I'm telling you, like, my team's had CoStar for a very long time. Look, my brokerage doesn't even offer CoStar. I have my own softwares, right? They don't offer Reonomy. They don't offer CoStar. I provide it. I have to provide it. Just keep in mind that, like, the best way to do things moving forward is really going to be making sure you have access to the right software, because with Reonomy you can export a lot of lead lists. With CoStar you can export a lot of lead lists, and you can export also a lot of lease information, deal information, how what properties you're really trading for. You're going to want to make sure you have access to Reonomy and CoStar. Very, very lucrative softwares. Look, we pull a ton of data, a large percentage of our data from CoStar, but then we run it through either IDI for skip tracing, or we use batch leads. Okay, both are very lucrative, highly recommended, and basically you can export a lead list from any software, CREsync, PropStream, CoStar, Reonomy, whatever, and then you can run it through a skip tracing software to make sure you export as many actual correct phone numbers as possible. Next is mojosells.com. Very important. It's not 1985, okay? You need to have a dialer. Very, very important to have a dialer. Mojosells.com. I don't have an affiliate with them. I wish I can get you guys discounts, but it's $150. It's $150 a month. Get you a triple line dialer. It basically will 10x your efficiencies if you're hand dialing right now. Once you get a dialer, you're going to understand you're never going to go back. It's very, very difficult to go from having a dialer to hand dialing. It's just such a pain in the butt now to even try to think about hand dialing. Been using Mojo for almost a decade at this point. Very good software. They do a very good job. It does exactly what you need it to do. Very lucrative. I have a video on YouTube to show you exactly how to set it up. Very simplistic. So definitely check out Mojo Sells. Always use the triple line dialer. The single line dialer is good, and if you want to do some follow-up calls, it probably is a decent way to do it. But I always recommend, if you're cold calling, just use the triple line dialer. You can even you can export your entire contact list, and you you could throw it into Mojo and you can dial, triple line dial through your contact list. Regardless of what you're gonna do, if you're gonna call a lot of people on a list, you should probably put it into a dialer. Highly, highly, highly recommended. When it comes to a CRM, there's a lot of people who ask me this question. What CRM should I use? There's so many different ones to choose from. Here's the biggest thing I want you to know. It honestly does not matter which CRM you use, okay? My software that I use is Follow Up Boss. It was a residential software that I use in the residential space, and like I had mentioned several times, I transitioned from the residential world many years ago, and it was just a software I felt comfortable. EXP Commercial uses Build Out. Several other companies use Salesforce. Some other companies use RealNext. Some other companies use this software and that one and this one. There's so many. This is what I'm here to tell you. It does not matter which one you use. Just choose a CRM and use it. As long as it does the following, which is number one, it allows you to set tasks to follow up with that person. Two, it's got to help you set up active campaigns for automatic text and email campaigns. So if you're wondering what CRM to choose and you just want a quick answer, I use Follow Up Boss and I've used it for quite some time. You can use that one or Build Out. Next is support and systems. So when it comes to the system side, because we already talked about software, this is going to be talking about all about hiring. Okay, very, very important thing here. Many people make the mistake and don't hire soon enough. And now when I say hire, I'm not saying you have to hire somebody at a $60,000 annual salary plus benefits and all these other crazy things, and all of a sudden you're out of pocket 60, 70, 80,000 bucks. What I am talking about though is getting VA support. Getting VA support and a $1 per hour support. Let me explain. When you're hiring a VA, you can actually hire somebody for as little as maybe $3 or $4 an hour, which is insane to think about in the grand scheme of things. But two, these people can actually do just as good a job as somebody who you pay 30, 40, 50, 60 grand a year, shockingly, especially when you're trying to handle administrative tasks. Hire a VA immediately. Pay them, $500 a month or so. You don't have to get too expensive. Make it very affordable, $500 to $1,000 a month. You can pay them to upload your lead list, pull the lead list. I mean, you can obviously give them some guidance. They'll understand how to do that. So they'll pull the lead list from you from the software. They'll import it into Mojo so it's done for you and labeled all the correct way. They can even create a spreadsheet for you so that they can all be put into an Excel spreadsheet. So it can be like a master database, which then you have emails, which you could cold email as well, right? And they could even cold email them. You can literally just do GMass and do a couple dozen a day and just have your VA handle that for you. On top of that, they can be handling your CRM. Now, let me explain what that means. Every time you're dialing, you literally could just put a note together and then send it to them, and they can input it into the CRM system for you, making sure they're adding tasks, making sure they're adding them on the right campaigns, and making sure every single one of the tasks are completed every single day. So all you have to do is either dial the phone through the dialer, which is already set up for you, or you go for your follow-up process, you can literally just call the tasks. Same thing with drafting and sending out any documents for signatures, letters of intent, listing agreements, right? You don't need to be filling these out. You can literally just send a quick note, a text to a VA who can handle doing this all for you. And I mean, imagine again, taking all this time back. You're talking about 5 minutes here, 15 minutes here, an hour here, 5 minutes there. All of a sudden it all adds up to an hour, 2, 3, 4 a day worth of your time back, which you can shove right back into lead generation and pitching deals like you should be. Last but not least, I'd like to say, because you don't want to go crazy with these VAs, you don't want to give them too heavy of tasks, but I recommend even things like emails and just cleaning up emails, which is they get to star all the emails that are very, very important that you need to be looking at, and then everything else that's spam, junk stuff, they should be deleting it and removing it, because every minute that you're spending time on other stuff that really is not worth your quote $250 an hour, $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, because you're trying to make more and more money, you are wasting time, right? So anytime you see a spam email and you're deleting it every single day, even if it's 10 seconds a day times 6 emails, 30 emails a day that you get a spam crap that you should be getting back an extra 5 or 10 minutes a day every day. You've just been deleting emails. You don't need to do that. And think about how much time you're going to get back by outlaying $500 or $1,000. I mean, it's just the returns are insane. Last thing, when it comes to hiring, keep in mind that just hire a VA, interview 5 of them, probably minimum, and then just choose one. It's okay to screw it up, and it's okay to hire the wrong person. I've hired a lot of people in my time, and guess what? Not every single one of them worked out, but I like to hire fast and fire faster, right? I don't need to. The long story is, if you're going to hire a $60,000 a year person, right, especially for a lot of first-time entrepreneurs, it's hire slow, fire fast. Okay, that's the real way to do it. Okay, be very slow to hire and be fast to fire. There's a lot of you watching this where I've been thinking about hiring a VA for 7 months or for 3 years and I haven't done it yet. Just hire a VA. I mean, guys, $500, $1,000, they can't be horrible. I mean, they can't screw up that much, and if they do, just fire them, right? It's not that big of a challenge to find somebody of that nature, right? And even if you screwed up, it's not that that big of a deal. So that's why I recommend, like, for somebody like of that kind of position for a VA, interview 5 people. I even would recommend that you have a colleague talk to them and maybe ask them some questions just so you get kind of different perspectives. You know, again, there's a lot of people in the community you can kind of bounce ideas off of, but you know, if they're pretty decent, they have some pretty decent previous experiences and they speak pretty good English, so you can communicate pretty regularly, I mean, hire them and let's give it a shot, right? And if they suck, I fire them. Now, second position you should be hiring, if your income is above $100,000 and you do not have this position filled, I recommend doing it right away, which is a transaction coordinator. I'm not telling you to pay 40 grand a year, 50, 60 grand a year or more as a transaction coordinator because you just don't need the overhead. You find a transaction coordinator, very normal thing to find these days, where you can find them and pay them on a per transaction basis. Okay, you can pay them literally $500 to $1,000 per transaction. Even if you paid $1,000 or $1,500, which is an insane amount of money, by the way. I mean, like most of my TCs that we've worked on in the past, because now they work full time with us, you could find them for less than $1,000 per transaction. But I'm saying even if you went crazy and you overpaid, most of the transactions, especially today, that we do is a minimum of like 30 to 50K and a very, very small check. You know, to spend $1,000, right, to make 30 or 50K, let alone the bigger deals that we're closing that make us 100, 200, several hundred thousand. Highly recommend that you get a transaction coordinator immediately. Once you start making like 500, 600 grand plus a year, then obviously you can bring on things like an executive assistant, administrative assistants full time. You know, personal executive assistants I think are very, very lucrative there, where they can start supporting you in a personal way. You know, handling a lot of the BS stuff, like, hey, like, you know, that person could work in your office with you. This way they're always with you, making sure, like for me, like, you know, getting my protein shakes, making sure that's handled, making sure that all of the rest of my life is handled. They take, you know, they can even take inbound calls. So if any inbound calls come in, they're like my secretary. You know, these types of positions are very, very lucrative as you continue to grow in your business. Typically recommended in that order. So another very good system for you is team meetings, right? Like, and even if it's a meeting by yourself every single day, Monday through Friday at an absolute minimum, besides your CEO time on a weekend, which I recommend, right? Or a very late night, you know, late at night when you're not working. Team meeting every single day, right? Every single morning, whether it's at any time between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. period. Okay, like don't ever change that. I would recommend that at least it's done before 9 a.m. It can be done even earlier than 8 o'clock. All my team meetings are done between 8 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning. Every single one of my meetings, and I have a lot of team meetings. Okay, a lot of agents that we're working through, a lot of things that have to be handled, a lot of different things, you know, businesses and properties that we own that we have to work through. All of my company calls done before 10 o'clock in the morning. I have the time, the next immediate time, I immediately try to get all of my red flags done by 10 o'clock, right? Like, so essentially by 10 o'clock, all my stuff is done, right? My last call typically ends around 9:40, so I have 20 minutes to handle all of my red flag activities, right? And on every single call, it's essentially just like, what's my red flags? Who needs to be called right away and what needs to be handled right away? Like, what issues or needs or problems do I have or challenges am I experiencing in the business right now that needs to be handled? Who do I have to call right away? So I'll create a list. It gets to be done in the next 20 minutes. On top of that, I'm like, my year-to-dates. What's my year-to-date look like? Well, okay, in this company, where year-to-date is here. On this company, my year-to-date is here. My company over here is year-to-date is here. These properties, you know, how are we looking? Or how's our occupancies? How's our rent collections? We'll look through every single one of those properties. And I'll talk to all my agents every single morning, make sure everybody's good. Again, we check out our year-to-dates. The last thing is our goals for today. Simple things like minimum standards. My goal today is to, like, I have a little bit of post-its. I try to get every one of my agents to write these post-its. Really simply put, they put the day of the week on it. And you have your 3 tasks for today, 3 goals. Okay, so 1 goal from the 3 here I have for me personally, because I do the same thing. 2 leads a day, 2 letters of intent submitted, and 2 accepted offers. So what I'm doing is that every single day I'm following this. This is just every bit of my notes here for the this module. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, throw it in the community chat, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.